My parents called a family meeting to help my failed business. Then they saw the Forbes article. The invitation came through our family group chat, my mother's perfectly worded message dripping with worried disappointment. Emergency family meeting, Thursday, 7 p.m. Alexandra needs our help with her situation. My situation. That's what they've been calling my decision to leave my prestigious consulting job and start my own company. 2 years of subtle hints, worried phone calls, and not-so-subtle comments about real jobs with real benefits. I sat in my car outside my parents' colonial-style house, the same one I'd grown up in, where success was measured by Ivy League degrees and corporate titles. My sister Emma's Range Rover was in the circular driveway, next to Dad's Mercedes and Mom's BMW. My Toyota Corolla looked completely out of place, exactly how they saw me these days. My phone buzzed. Another message from Marcus, my CFO. The Forbes article drops at 8 p.m. You ready for this? I replied, perfect timing. Family intervention starts at 7. His response came immediately, wild. Want me to send a car to rescue you? Not necessary, I wrote back. Some things are worth waiting for. I checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. No designer clothes tonight, just a simple black blazer over a white shirt, minimal makeup, hair neatly tied back. Let them think I couldn't afford better. That would make the coming reveal all the sweeter. The door opened before I could knock. Mom stood there in her Chanel suit, makeup flawless, though it couldn't quite hide the worried lines. Alexandra, darling, you're late. By 2 minutes, Mom. Details matter in business, sweetheart, she said as she ushered me in. Something you might want to consider. The living room was set up like a corporate intervention. Dad in his power position by the fireplace, Emma and her husband James on the leather sofa, Mom's sister Aunt Patricia in the wingback chair. They'd even called in reinforcements. Ollie, Emma said, air-kissing me. Love the blazer. Second-hand H&M, actually. I watched her try to hide her horror. Sustainable fashion. Very on trend. Dad cleared his throat. Let's begin. We're here because we're concerned about you. About my situation, I said, choosing the least comfortable chair, facing them all deliberately. About your choices, Mom corrected. 2 years ago, you had everything, junior partner track at Mackenzie, that lovely penthouse apartment, William, ah yes, William, I said. The investment banker they had practically planned my wedding to, before I called it off to start my business. And now, Dad gestured vaguely, living in that tiny apartment, driving that old car, working on, what do you call it? A tech startup, James helpfully supplied. Though, startup implies growth potential. He smiled, all MBA teeth and confidence. I glanced at your sector. Oversaturated market. No room for new players without serious capital backing. I held back a smile. James, who had tried to fund his own startup 3 times before turning back to his trust fund. James, who had no idea he'd pitched his latest idea to one of my subsidiary investment firms last month. James, who had just been rejected, again. We're just trying to help, Emma added. There's no shame in admitting something's not working. Mackenzie would take you back in a heartbeat. In fact, Aunt Patricia cut in, Barbara's daughter just made partner there. Youngest female partner in their history. She paused meaningfully. That could have been you. I looked at my watch. 7:43 p.m. The Forbes article would go live in 17 minutes. You haven't even told us what your company does, Mom complained. All this secrecy, these long hours, and what do you have to show for it? Dad stood, striking his CEO stance, the same one he'd used in countless boardroom presentations. Look, we're here to discuss your failing company and plan your next steps. No more avoiding reality. Emma's phone buzzed. She looked at it, then looked again. Her perfectly maintained composure cracked. Oh my God, she whispered. Then louder, why is your face on Forbes's 30 under 30 list? The room froze. Mom's wine glass halted midway to her lips. James grabbed Emma's phone. That's impossible, he said, scrolling frantically. This can't be. Alexandra Bennett, 28 years old, founder and CEO of Neurotech Solutions, valued at, this has to be a mistake. $2 billion, I supplied calmly. That's the current valuation after our last funding round. Though that number is slightly outdated now. Dad sank back into his chair. 2 billion. Would you like to know what my company does now? I pulled out my tablet and opened our investor presentation. Neurotech Solutions develops adaptive learning systems powered by AI. We are revolutionizing how machines process and respond to complex data. That small apartment I live in? It's actually the smallest unit in a building I own. That old Toyota? I bought it because it's practical and reliable, just like any good investment should be. Mom's wine glass trembled in her hand. But you never said anything. You never asked, I replied. You were too busy mourning my failure to notice my success. I stood up, straightening my second-hand blazer. Our technology is being implemented by leading tech firms around the world. That's why I've been working so many hours. That's why I've been private. And that's why in approximately 2 minutes, Forbes will publish a featured article about how a 28-year-old woman built a multi-billion-dollar tech empire while her family thought she was failing. Emma's phone kept vibrating. Notifications were flooding in as the article went live. James looked like he had swallowed something sour. Aunt Patricia was already dialing, probably calling Barbara about her daughter, suddenly less impressive. 2 billion, Dad repeated, stunned. Actually, I said, checking my phone as Marcus's message arrived, make that 3 billion. We just closed another acquisition. I'd tell you more, but I have a video interview with CNBC in an hour. They're doing a feature on disruptive tech leaders. The silence was deafening. Then Mom spoke, her voice small, but, why didn't you tell us? I looked around the room at their shocked faces, their shattered assumptions, their crumbling certainty about who I was and what I was capable of. Because sometimes, I said, gathering my things, the best way to succeed is to let people underestimate you. It's amazing how much you can achieve when no one is watching. My phone buzzed again. That's my car. Unlike my Toyota, this one is actually expensive. Comes with the whole Forbes photo shoot package. I headed to the door, then turned. Oh, and Emma, that startup James pitched last month? The one rejected by Ben Ventures? That's my investment firm. Better luck next time. I left them there, surrounded by their luxury brands and conventional success, while outside, a sleek black car waited to take me to my next interview. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them realize they never truly knew you. And I was just getting started. The CNBC interview was only the beginning. By midnight, my phone had exploded with messages, old classmates suddenly remembering our close friendship, distant relatives claiming they'd always believed in me, and most telling of all, a series of increasingly desperate messages from my family. Mom, Alexandra, please call us. We need to talk. Emma, oh my God, Ollie. Why didn't you tell me? I'm your sister. James, about that pitch, maybe we could discuss it over lunch? Dad, I don't understand. You had all this success and kept it secret from your own family? I ignored them all, focusing instead on Marcus's message, stock up 12% after Forbes article. Tokyo markets opening strong. Ready for tomorrow's board meeting? The next morning, I walked into the Neurotech headquarters, a sleek glass tower in the heart of downtown. My name was discreetly etched into the cornerstone. The security guard nodded respectfully. Good morning, Miss Bennett. My executive assistant Maya met me in the elevator. Your family has been calling the office since 6 a.m. Your mother tried to charm her way past reception, but security followed protocol. I smiled. Of course they did. Any other surprises? Your sister Emma posted on LinkedIn about her brilliant tech entrepreneur sister and tagged you. PR wants to know how to handle it. No response needed, I said. Let her chase the connection. My office occupied the top floor, but I had designed it to be invisible from the street, privacy glass, minimal signage. The interior space was modern but understated, clean lines, practical furniture, walls covered in whiteboards filled with code and complex algorithms. The morning news played silently on multiple screens. Tech prodigy Alexandra Bennett revolutionizes the AI market. Neurotech Solutions, the stealth giant reshaping machine learning. Young CEO secretly builds a $1 billion empire. A knock at my door interrupted my news scan. Miss Bennett, your 9 a.m. appointment is here. I turned, expecting my scheduled venture capital meeting. Instead, there stood William, my ex-fiancé, the investment banker my parents had never forgiven me for leaving. Alexandra, he said, trying his old charming smile. You look successful. I look exactly the same as when you called my startup cute and admirable, I replied, remaining seated. How did you get on my calendar? He shifted uncomfortably. Your mother might have mentioned you had offices here. I thought, given our history. Given our history, I cut him off. You should remember I don't appreciate being underestimated. You never said it, but you did think it. Tech is a man's world, sweetheart. Stick to consulting where they value diversity hires. I pressed the intercom. Maya, please escort Mr. Harrison out and update the security protocols. As he was being led away, my actual 9 a.m. appointment arrived. Sarah Chin, the notorious venture capitalist known for backing unicorn startups. Entertaining morning, she asked, nodding toward William's retreating figure. Just clearing out some outdated assumptions, I said. I pulled up our pitch deck. We talked about the future, not the past. The meeting with Sarah was brilliant, but just a warm-up for what was coming. By noon, I had a board meeting, the first since the Forbes article had dropped. The boardroom was full when I walked in. Our investors, mostly older men who had once doubted me, now sat a little straighter, their posture shifted by a few $1 billion. Before we begin, I said, taking my seat at the head of the table, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, the Forbes article was strategic. Yes, the timing was deliberate. And no, this doesn't change how we operate. Marcus, my CFO, presented our quarterly figures. The growth charts look like jagged mountain ranges, steep, impressive, undeniable. As you can see, I continued, our decision to operate in stealth mode while we built our technological base has paid off. We're not just ahead of the market, we are the market. One of our earliest investors, a man who once suggested I bring in a more experienced, yes man, cleared his throat. The numbers are impressive. But the publicity changes things. Your family. My family is irrelevant to this company's operations, I said, clicking to the next slide. What is relevant is our next move, Project Nexus. The room fell silent as I described our new AI architecture, technology that would make our current success look like a warm-up round. Mid-presentation, Maya slipped me a note, your sister is in the lobby. Says she won't leave until you speak with her. I continued presenting but sent a quick message to security. 5 minutes later, Emma was escorted to our smaller conference room, the one with the uncomfortable chairs. After the board meeting, I took my time reviewing contracts before finally heading down to see her. She'd been waiting for 2 hours. Her flawless hairdo slightly wilted, her Prada handbag clutched like a shield. Really, Ollie? This is how I find out, she asked as I entered. You couldn't have had security tell them who I am? I'm your sister. They know exactly who you are, I said, taking a seat. That's why the protocol remains. She deflated slightly. Mom's been crying. You know Dad hasn't gone to work. They feel betrayed. Betrayed? I raised an eyebrow. By what? My success? My independence? Or the fact they can't take credit for it? That's not fair. We're family. We should have been part of this. Like you made me part of your life? I replied. All those family dinners where you and James talked about your achievements. Those charity galas where Mom introduced you as her successful daughter and me as Alexandra, still finding herself. Emma flinched. That's not fair. We didn't know. Because you never asked, I said. You were too busy feeling superior to actually see what I was building. And now, she gestured around. Now that we do know. Now it's too late to start over. James would love to collaborate. Oh yes. James. I pulled out my tablet and opened his presentation history. 3 failed startups. 2 SEC warnings for questionable business practices. And a trust fund draining faster than his excuses. James's face turned red. I know everything about everyone who tries to do business with my company, I said, including the fact that he's been speaking poorly of me to potential investors for the last 2 years. Amateur hour, I believe he called it. Emma's designer purse slipped from her fingers. He wouldn't. The recordings are pretty clear. I stood up. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. Wait, she grabbed my arm. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Just don't shut us out. I looked at her perfectly manicured hand on the sleeve of my blazer, the same blazer she mocked last night. I don't want anything from you, Emma. That's the point. I built all of this without you, without our parents, without anyone's approval or support. And that's exactly how I intend to continue. But what about family? I gave a small, sad smile. Family would have believed in me, even without the billions. Family would have asked about my dreams instead of dismissing them. Family would have seen me for who I am, not for who they wanted me to be. Her hand dropped. And now? She asked. I checked my phone as another alert came in. Now I have a meeting with the governor about turning our city into the next major tech hub. Feel free to tell Mom and Dad, I'm sure they'll suddenly be very interested in my situation. As I walked out, leaving Emma in that tiny conference room, Maya stepped up beside me. Your parents are organizing another family meeting tonight, she said, glancing at her tablet. Your aunt has already called 3 reporters trying to claim she mentored you. I smiled. Let them meet. Let them talk. Success is the best revenge. But silence. Silence is the best response. The elevator doors opened, revealing Sarah Chin waiting with a group of international investors. Ready to change the world? She asked. I straightened my discount blazer, now knowing it would appear in tomorrow's business headlines as the new look of tech power. Always, I replied. After all, the greatest innovations come from the people everyone else overlooked. Behind me, I could hear Emma's expensive heels heading toward the exit, the sound echoing like all her years of judgment and dismissal. But I was no longer the overlooked little sister. I was the future. And the future, like success, belongs to those who build it themselves. 1 month after the Forbes article changed everything, I was sitting in my office reviewing the latest market reports. Neurotech's stock had doubled. Our AI technology was being hailed as revolutionary by industry leaders. And my carefully protected privacy had been replaced by constant public attention. Maya appeared at my door. Your father is downstairs. I didn't look up from my screen. Same response as yesterday. Today's different. No Mercedes. No power suit. He's wearing jeans. That made me pause. Richard Bennett, CEO of Bennett Global Consulting, wearing jeans in public? He's been waiting in the lobby for 2 hours, Maya added. Just sitting there, watching people work. I pulled up the lobby security feed. There he was, looking somehow smaller in casual clothes, holding a worn leather briefcase I'd never seen before. Send him up. While I waited, I glanced at the collection of framed newspaper headlines on my wall. Neurotech announces breakthrough in quantum AI. Newest female tech billionaire turns down family's attempt to take credit. Alexandra Bennett's success needs no permission. The last one came from an interview where I finally addressed the family situation publicly. The reporter had asked why I kept my success a secret from my family. My answer. Success doesn't need permission, validation, or family approval. It only needs vision and persistence. Dad entered silently, so different from his usual dominant presence. He looked around my office slowly, the whiteboards covered in complex algorithms, the global market trackers, the view of a city he thought he knew. Your mother still sets a place for you at dinner, he said finally. Every Thursday night. Just in case. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. He sat, placing the worn briefcase in his lap. I've been thinking, he began, about your 5th grade science fair. Of all the things he could have said, that was not what I expected. You built a primitive neural network. Used it to predict weather patterns. Everyone else had baking soda volcanoes or plants growing toward light. You had algorithms. He smiled weakly. You won first place, but I missed it. I had a board meeting. I remember. You know what I don't remember, he continued. Ever asking you to explain how it worked. Or why you were interested in AI. Or what you dreamed of creating. He opened the briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. So I did some research. He spread them across my desk, patents, academic papers, early business proposals. My work, going back years. You filed your first patent at 19, he said. Developed your first AI protocol at 22. Launched 3 successful startups under different names before Neurotech, all while we thought you were just finding myself, I supplied, quietly. Being difficult. He looked up, meeting my eyes. We were wrong. I was wrong. Silence stretched between us, heavy with years of missed connections. Did you know, he said at last, that your mother has started taking coding classes? Just the basics, but she says she wants to understand what you built. Emma's been reading about AI ethics. Even James. James has been pitching projects to my competitors, I interrupted, using his connection to me as leverage. Dad's face fell. I didn't know that. There's a lot you didn't know. You never asked. You didn't want to see. He nodded slowly. Your mother wants to organize a family dinner. To celebrate your success. Like the last family dinner? I said. When they all gathered to stage an intervention about my situation? He pulled out one more thing from his briefcase. A photograph. An old one. Me at my 5th grade science fair, standing proudly beside my neural network display. Small, serious, and absolutely certain of my path. When did we stop seeing you? He asked softly. When did we replace pride with judgment? I studied the photo, remembering that day, the excitement of creation, the joy of making something new, the sting of disappointment when my parents missed the award ceremony. You know, I said, that project predicted weather patterns with 76% accuracy. Pretty impressive for a 5th grader. Do you want to know Neurotech's current prediction rate? He looked up, interest stirring in spite of himself. What is it? 99.997%. I turned my monitor toward him, showing our latest test results. We're not just predicting weather anymore. We're modeling climate shifts, market trends, population movements. We're helping governments prepare for natural disasters before they happen. Helping companies adapt before the change hits. Saving lives, Dad. For the first time, I saw true understanding dawn in his eyes. Not just of the money or the success, but of what I had actually built. Show me, he said quietly. Help me understand. I hesitated, then stood and walked over to the largest whiteboard. It starts with a basic neural pathway, I said, beginning to draw. But then we add quantum processing. For the next hour, I explained the work of my life to my father. He asked questions, good ones, showing he had done real research. When I finished, he was silent for a long time. I have another confession, he said at last. Bennett Global is struggling. The old consulting model doesn't work anymore. Companies want AI integration. Predictive analytics. I know, I said. Your shares dropped 40% last quarter. He laughed suddenly. Of course you know. You probably knew before I did. He straightened in his seat. I'm not here to ask for help. Or money. Or connections. I'm here to say, I'm proud of you. Not because you're successful, but because you had the courage to build something revolutionary while we were too blind to see it. I walked to the window, looking out over the city where I had built my empire in silence. The next family dinner, I said slowly, what if we held it here? In my building. I'll give everyone a tour first. Show them what I actually do. No more assumptions. No more judgment. Just reality. He looked at me and nodded. I'd like that. Then carefully, I would really like that. One condition. I turned to face him. Everyone comes on their own merit. No plus ones. James is not welcome. He nodded again. Understood. Emma's starting to see it anyway. Her latest investment plan cost them a lot. I know. I bought her debt last week. Through a subsidiary. His eyebrows rose. You did? Why? Because Emma's still my sister. She needs to clean up her own mess. But I won't let her drown. I sat down again. Family is complicated. Success doesn't fix that. It only gives you the power to set better boundaries. Dad stood, collecting his briefcase. Thursday at 7? Thursday at 7, I confirmed. Tell Mom to wear comfortable shoes. It's a big building. At the door, he paused. That quote from the article, about success not needing permission, I'm framing it. From my office. To remind me what real leadership looks like. After he left, Maya brought in my afternoon schedule and a fresh coffee. Your mother has already called 3 times about Thursday, she said. And Emma sent flowers. Donate the flowers, I replied. And Maya, clear my Thursday evening. It's time to show my family what I really built. That night, working late as usual, I added one more framed piece to my wall. Tech CEO redefines the family business. Success is the best teacher. Below it, I hung that old photo from the science fair, the little girl with big dreams who became the woman who changed the tech world. Sometimes the hardest part of success isn't building the empire. It's teaching others to see you for who you've become, not who they assumed you would be. And as I looked out over the city, watching the lights flicker in buildings where my technology was already at work, I smiled. Thursday would be interesting. But this time, I wouldn't be the one proving anything. I already had. Now, it was their turn to learn.